Welcome to this LEX18 Digital Conversation. I'm Davidson. The opioid crisis, drug and suicide-related deaths, all of these continue to be major issues here in Kentucky. So how do you spot the early warning signs before someone you love gets caught in a cycle of self-harm? And where can you get help? Jessica Tate is the Director of Outpatient Services for Landmark Recovery. She joins me now with more. Welcome.
Hi, Dia. Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
But, I mean, again means that we're still dealing with a really serious issue here in our state. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Any improvements, or does it seem like it's getting worse?
You know, since the last time we talked, we haven't had much improvement. The thing that we are steadily working on is increasing access to treatment. Earlier this week, actually, the senator was meeting with a lot of the local stakeholders and legislatures to discuss introducing bills to increase access to treatment and even the law. Their involvement and role in getting people to treatment.
Well, let's talk a little bit about treatment and what you're doing over at Landmark to try and get people in, clean, and to stay that way.
Okay. So at Landmark, we here in Lexington offer an intensive outpatient program, and so that's going to be for folks that are trying to remain in their home without having to go to inpatient treatment, or for the folks that are coming out of inpatient treatment and trying to reintegrate back into the community, go back to work, deal with their families, and kind of manage all of the stressors that come along with early recovery. And so to try and get somebody in, somebody could just give us a call. Our number's going to be posted at the end of this segment, I believe.
Yes.
And they'll call and they'll talk to our chemical dependency tech and business office manager. We'll bring them in, we'll give them a tour of the facility and really just make them feel comfortable. They don't have to commit to treatment. They can just come and talk about what's going on in their life and figure out, like, is this even what I need right now? Do I need treatment? And do I need this level of care? And so the outpatient is really designed to help teach the skills to maintain sobriety. We also in Louisville offer an inpatient treatment program, and so that's for somebody who's really kind of struggling to even get those initial 72 hours of sobriety under their belt. They may be at risk of medical withdrawals, physical withdrawals, and need medical detox. And so in our Louisville program, we have a 60-bed facility. It's brand new. It just opened.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely beautiful. And so we offer a inpatient stay that's typically about 30 to 45 days with a 10-day detox. And so that's so somebody can safely stop using drugs.
Can a family member, I don't want to use the word commit a person to this, or is it self-committal to this?
Both. So in Kentucky, and I think we might have briefly touched on this last time, Kentucky, we're very fortunate to have Casey's Law, and that's where we can actually petition a family member who is not able to see yet the destructiveness that their addiction has in their life and the impact that it's having on their life. Maybe they've gone through numerous treatments before, or maybe they're at risk of dying, or they've overdosed and they're just not willing to get treatment. Their family member is actually able to file a petition for them, and it will go before the mental health court, and the judge can order them to 60 to 365 days in treatment.
Oh, wow. You know, earlier this week, she's a radio personality and TV talk show host, Wendy Williams. She talked about her continued struggle with addiction, her drug of choice, cocaine. She talked about a sober house, that's where she's staying right now. Is this akin to a sober house, or what exactly, when we hear sober house, what's going on there that's different maybe, or the same?
So there's actually different levels. You have sober living houses, you have halfway houses, you have three-quarter houses, you have Oxford houses. And here in Lexington, we have a lot of Oxford houses and a lot of sober living houses. And the thing that is so great about that is it's a kind of adjunct to the therapeutic work that's being done. So somebody can go to an IOP program, they can learn the skills, and maybe it's not safe for them to go back to their home. Maybe they have a spouse that is continuing to drink or use drugs, and so it's putting them in a really risky situation. Or maybe the stressors are just too much and they need more structure. An Oxford house at a sober living house are peer-led. It's people that are in recovery themselves, and they've figured out what works for them, and they kind of help to navigate early recovery for those people coming out of treatment.
Well, let's talk a little bit more specifically now about Kentucky and some of the things that are going on here. We were talking a little bit about, I guess, the rates of people who are taking and getting back sort of, you know, back on it again, and the back and forth. Let's talk a little bit about some of the programs that are in place where law enforcement is actually now not looking to incarcerate, but to actually to help care and get care for these individuals.
You know, I think it's such an important conversation to have, so I'm really glad you brought that up. In Kentucky, we're like 5th in the nation in terms of substance use and overdose-related deaths. So in Kentucky, we have several programs in place. We have the KSP Angel Initiative program, which is something that is just very near and dear to my heart. So a lot of people don't know this. You could walk into any Kentucky State Police post and say that I need treatment.
Wow.
And you're not risking being incarcerated, you're not risking being locked up, which is a lot of fear associated with this, but they'll actually help to link you with treatment.
Oh, wow.
Here in Lexington, we have something called the CIT team. It's a crisis intervention team. It is composed of a lot of the local stakeholders, so Bluegrass.org, Eastern State Hospital, the UK Police Department, Lexington Police Department, Fayette County Sheriff's, Fire and Rescue. We attend it, and so all of the local stakeholders go to this monthly meeting to discuss some of the current issues and trends, and then what are we doing? Like, how can we address this?
Well, how did it all come about? I mean, because typically people who are addicted are not going to think, let me go to the police department and seek help.
You know, that's actually a really great conversation to have with the CIT team. We work really closely with Officer Brian Martin. He's just been wonderful. And him and the fire and rescue guys came out and they've toured the facility, and that's one of the things they want to tackle and address is being able to come in with, of course, our patient's permission and say, how can we make this more approachable and make this more accessible, because we want to do better. We know that we haven't always done the best in the past, and we know that it can be heavily stigmatized, and we want to do better. How do we do that?
And being proactive, that's the key too. A little bit about Narcan, because police and fire are equipped with this. Are we seeing more usage of it now? People feeling more comfortable using it, even family members using it?
I think there's so much more awareness surrounding Narcan now. So a lot of, and that comes from inpatient treatment. I know when I worked inpatient, one of the things I would want to always do is educate the families. Like, there's a huge risk of relapse, you know, with any person in early recovery. But for somebody coming out of inpatient treatment for heroin or opiate use, that relapse could be deadly, and they can actually overdose, because a lot of times we go back to the same amount that we were using before.
And your body can't take it, right?
We don't have that same tolerance anymore. And so I would do a huge piece on family education and talk to the family members about getting Narcan and having it just in case. You know, we don't want to say relapse is going to happen, because it doesn't have to be part of the process, but it often is, and so it's better to be prepared for it.
Better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry. If you had to say to a person who is, you know, they want out, they're struggling, they really want to, you know, sort of turn that corner, if you could speak to them and say, this is what you got to do, or this is what you need to do, or this is what you need to think about, what would you say to them?
You know, I actually try not to tell people what they need to do and what they need to think about and what they need to say. Instead, I try to be present with them, and I try to hear their struggles and just kind of be the support that a lot of times they don't have, because a lot of their supports are so tired because they've been through this and they've heard the lies and they've heard that I'm going to do better. And so a lot of times by the time somebody gets to me, they're at that point of despair. And so it's, how can I help you? Tell me how I can help you.
And map out a plan. Are you able to reintegrate them back with their family? Are you able to help rebuild trust? Because you know, trust is something that is so precious, but so easy to lose and so hard to regain. It
is, but it's not impossible. And so that's one of the neat components about our program that I just love, is that we actually do a family education group. So bi-monthly, every other week, we actually open our group up to the family members so that they can come in and participate in treatment with their loved one. And so it's not just about the individual, but it's also about their family, because we understand, like, the system's approach. It's not something that just affects an individual, it affects the entire family. And if the individual is going to recover and get better, the family needs to recover and get better as well.
Oh, wow. Great work you guys are doing. Thank you so very much. And of course, if you want any information, they're just a phone call away. That number is 866-504-8545. We'll also on Facebook have their website as well. Thanks so much for watching this LEX18 Digital Conversation. For more digital conversations, just log on to lex18.com. Until next time, I'm Davidson. you.